As the market for drones continues to grow in popularity in North America, experts are sounding the alarm on one of the largest drone companies in the world. Chinese technology company Dajiang Innovations makes the popular DJI drones. It is being closely watched by experts concerned about the security risks associated with their products. Federal officials in the U.S. have already put a spotlight on DJI, and the Department of Homeland Security previously issued a warning about Chinese-made drones. However, these products still operate within North America. Well, joining us now to give us his take on the security risks associated with DJI drones is Rayan Brobst, a research analyst at the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Mr. Brobst, welcome to Forum Daily.
Thank you for having me.
So we mentioned that Dajiang Innovations is one of the biggest drone companies in the world. But just how prevalent are DJI products in North America in particular?
Yeah, so studies show that in March 2021, DJI's share of the global drone market was about 76% by volume. And in December 2021, their share of the global commercial drone market was about 54%. So DJI has had a majority of global drone sales in recent years, of which North America is the biggest market.
And what sort of concerns do DJI drones pose to North American security as a whole, as well as the personal security of citizens using them?
Yeah, so it's a very serious risk. So, in addition to the camera footage and GPS data that the drone itself collects, the app for mobile devices used to control the drone can collect data on a user's contacts, photos, location, and online activities, which can then be stored on servers in China. And by law, any data a Chinese company possesses can be accessed by the Chinese Communist Party if they ask for it. DJI denies this, but they are also found to have taken funding from Chinese government sources. So any consumer using these drones through their phone should assume the Chinese government has access to the information on that phone.
All right, let's talk a little bit about its military use. Now the company DJI says its drones are not intended for military use, and considering that the DHS previously issued a warning around Chinese-made drones, why are these products still being used by federal officials, including in the FBI and multiple policing organizations in the U.S.?
Yeah, so these products are still being used because they're ubiquitous, cheap, easy to use, and not everyone is aware of the risk to their data. And even if they are aware, it's easy to dismiss the danger if you don't think your data is useful. So, for example, if you're in charge of managing forest fires, you probably wouldn't care whether DJI knows where you're using it because everyone knows where the forest is already. However, that gets significantly more dangerous if the drone is used by law enforcement and connected with devices that the police and other agencies use.
All right, well, to address some of these concerns, we know the U.S. Congress has drafted the American Security Drone Act. So tell us a little bit about this act and whether it's enough to address all of the security concerns around DJI in particular.
Sorry, my internet cut out for a moment. Could you repeat that?
Yes, of course. So we mentioned that. So we mentioned that the U.S. Congress has drafted the American Security Drone Act, but the question here is whether it's enough to address all security concerns around DJI.
Yeah, so what the act does is that it bans, with a few exceptions, the US government from buying drones from certain entities, including DJI. This is a step in the right direction, but it leaves a huge hole, namely that state governments continue to be a problem even if the act passes.
All right, there seems to be a bit of a connection issue, Mr. Brobst. We seem to have lost that last part of your answer. Would you be able to repeat that for our viewers?
Yeah. So what the act does is that it essentially bans, with a few exceptions, the U.S. federal government from buying drones from certain entities, including DJI. This is a step in the right direction, but leaves a huge hole, namely that state governments and local police could continue buying these DJI products that send data back to China. That will continue to be a problem even if the act passes.
All right, Mr. Brobst, a quick minute left here, but what other popular pieces of technology or apps may pose some threats to North American security?
Yeah, so Huawei is probably the biggest risk to North American security. If its products were installed in 5G networks, there would be a huge risk of espionage that would be very hard to discover or mitigate. Fortunately, both the American and Canadian governments banned Huawei products in their networks. However, Mexico has not restricted Huawei as much, which will continue to pose a risk going forward.
All right, Mr. Brobst, thank you again for joining us today on Forum Daily.
All right, thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back after the break. And when Forum Daily returns, we'll be taking a look at the major news stories and headlines from around the world. Russia resumes its shelling near Europe's largest nuclear power plant. The European Union is looking to cap prices on Russian oil and gas. And the names of some U.S. officials are leaked in a list of members belonging to an extremist group. So stay tuned to Forum Daily. We'll be right back after the break. Stay with us.